me being me and knowing people, I thought maybe I could talk to Tyler Rich and it wouldn't be a big thing. But seeing him coming up to the right side and having both of us walking up just would not be something that would be smart.
And why wouldn't it be smart?
He was really angry before. I don't think he was looking to talk peacefully like I was to talk to Tyler Rich about the damages. He didn't know Tyler Rich, so what is he going to talk about?
And with regards to going back there and the defendant getting out, did you think that it was going to end well?
No.
Why?
Like I said, like he was upset. He was angry. He was showing it way more. He wasn't looking. I feel like he wasn't looking for anything peaceful.
Did you, at that point in time when you got out of the car, did you notice if the defendant had any weapons on him at that point?
I did not.
What was the lighting out like that night?
It was dark.
Could you see in front of you though?
Yes.
It wasn't pitch black? Was there some ambient light coming from the house?
Yes.
Jack's lights were on in his car? That light kind of helped out. Was there anybody outside at that point in time when you started walking up initially?
Not really.
And when you were walking up the house, what if anything happened as you were walking up?
When I was walking up, no one was really around, and then someone said they're back. I screamed it out almost, and I was greeted by a large individual straight into my face in the first 3 seconds, who got really close up to me, started screaming. And I was like, yo, I'm trying to talk to Tyler Rich. And then while that was going on, Tyler Rich came to the right side of me. And I was like, yo.
Right? Yes. And he was telling you to get off his property? And when that was happening, where was the defendant at this point? Do you remember?
8 feet to the right of me.
So from maybe here at me to maybe the wood banister there?
Yeah, a little bit farther, but yeah.
Further? Okay. And could you see what the defendant was doing at that point in time?
He had a group of kids almost like kind of surrounding him as well, and he was screaming back at them.
He was screaming at them? What kinds of things was he screaming?
I couldn't hear.
Did it look like he was acting peacefully?
No.
Did it look like he was trying to calm the situation?
No.
Did it look like he was acting aggressively?
Yeah.
And at some point in time, tell me what happens next.
So right when Tyler Rich came to my face and screamed that into me, I knew this is not going to go the way I thought it was going to go. More kids kept funneling out. It got louder, more chaotic. They started screaming at me. I started screaming back. And I'm looking over at Lito because he has a lot of people around him. And I see him get punched. And I almost like took a step forward and I got hit from the back of my head and almost fell forward into a group like of people. And before I knew it, I was on the ground. And
now, are you familiar with Jimmy McGrath?
I am.
How are you familiar with Jimmy McGrath?
I grew up playing lacrosse against him.
And I'll show you States 57. You know who that is?
Yeah.
Who's that?
It's Jimmy.
Now, do you recall seeing Jimmy during this initial part? Was he in the...
No.
Now, you say that you got hit and you fell?
Yeah.
And when you fell, do you recall what was going on when you fell?
It was so chaotic that it was almost like I just felt stuff coming from all different sides of me, getting like kicked, punched. Kind of was just face down, so I don't really recall what was going on around me.
How long would you say the fight lasted for? Do you recall?
I would say like 10, 15 seconds.
And when the fight started, do you recall seeing where the defendant went?
Say again?
Did you see, once the defendant got hit, did you see what happened to him?
No.
Now, you said you didn't see Jimmy during that initial part of the fight. Did you see him involved in the fight, in the initial part of the fight? Now, at some point in time when you're on the ground, you said 10 to 15 seconds. What happens next that you remember?
What I remember is being on the ground, kind of like getting kicked, getting punched, whatever. Then almost getting pushed like so my body would get like almost let go, and like I'd glide into like the street, when I get out of it.
So we're looking at State's Exhibit 4. Can you tell us in Stage 4 where you recall getting pushed out to the street?
I remember like being over by that first far red bush.
Okay.
Like that's over there, I believe, where I was getting beat up, and then I come out, straight out in front of it.
Okay, so the record can reflect, Your Honor, we're looking at the red bush to the left, which appears to be next to the blue pickup truck, and then the witness has indicated that he was pushed out towards the street where the curb area is.
Court will allow the record to reflect that information. Thank you.
And when you you said you got pushed out into the street?
Well, it almost felt like they let go of me.
Okay.
So
And when you are out into the street, what, if anything, do you recall doing at that point in time?
I like stumble out into the street, and I turn around, and there's just a big wall of kids screaming, like very chaotic.
Were the wall of kids that were screaming, were they coming after you at that point?
No.
Were you going after them at that point?
No.
Did you have a weapon on you at that point?
No.
Did you were screaming back at them?
I was, yeah.
They were screaming at you?
Yes.
Was the fight over at that point?
My knowledge, yes.
And how long would you say the fight was over? How long did that screaming go on?
Like five seconds.
And after that 5 seconds, what do you remember doing?
After that 5 seconds while I was screaming at them, almost like a screaming match, I looked to my left and I saw the car Jack Schneider was driving, almost driving away.
We're going to play a video for you. Do you recall watching the video in connection to this case?
Yes.
All right, while they get that video queued up, let's bring in our guest who is standing by. Trial attorney John Day is with us. John, thanks so much for joining. When I'm listening to a case like this, these words are really important. Yesterday, we heard one of the friends of Valle talking a lot about fear, how he was fearful, how he expected that Raul Valle was fearful. Today, this friend who was not driving the vehicle, he's talking about anger, aggression. How do those buzzwords help the prosecution?
Well, remember what's happening, and thanks for having me. Right now, the prosecution is trying to reinforce the theme that there were choices, that that the kids could make a choice to not get out of the car. The kids could make a choice to go somewhere else. They could have made choices to avoid the encounter. And the prosecution is doing this because the defense in this case can only be Valle saying, look, I had no choice. When I was confronted by all these people, I had a knife. I had no choice. My life was in danger. I thought I was going to get hurt. I thought I was going to get beat up. Prosecution's anticipating that. Prosecution is laying the foundation for Valle made a choice. He could have gone somewhere else. He could have chosen not to get out of the car with the knife. And prosecution is trying to counteract the anticipated self-defense, which is coming.
And in talking about self-defense, when I'm hearing Tyler DaSilva testifying, even though it does at this point seem markedly different from Jack Snyder's position, you are still hearing about really a mob, that there were all of these students. And he says he saw his friend get punched first, and that's really what started this. He got punched in the back of the head. How's the defense going to use that part of it?
Well, again, this is certainly tough for the defense, but they've got to establish in the minds of these jurors that Valle had no other choice. When he was out of the car and he was confronted by these people, he had a reasonable belief that his life was in danger, that he was going to get hurt. And of course, very chilling testimony yesterday from Snyder, who says that Valle comes back into the car and says, basically, I think I just stabbed 4 people. Before he gets out of the car, Snyder, who has an immunity agreement, says, that he hands him the knife. He's asked, why did you hand him the knife? I don't know. Again, going back to the self-defense issue, you've got Snyder, who has an agreement with the prosecution to testify against his friend and not be prosecuted. So in the minds of the jurors, they're going to be wondering, is that going to cloud his credibility? Does that raise questions about that testimony?
Oh, yeah, we have a lot more ahead of this witness on the stand, so John, stand by. When we come back, we'll hear more from Tyler DaSilva, his position during this brawl, and what he says was happening with his friend, Raul Valle.
The defendant came off the side of the bushes and was approaching me, and I told him to get the F out of here, and then I proceeded to tell him not to come near me. I used the can of WD-40 to distance myself and kind of just started spraying it in his direction, which stopped him in his tracks.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are following this trial out of Connecticut, and you just heard from one of the party goers who witnessed a deadly fight between high schoolers. The Prep School Party Murder Trial for defendant Raul Valle is now underway, still with the state's case, but we expect at any time it could turn to the defense case. We are listening to someone on the stand who is a friend of this defendant. Now, the victim in this case is Jimmy McGrath, 17 years old at the time, standout lacrosse player. We're hearing people talk about knowing him. What a great person he was, we've heard throughout this trial. And now we're trying to understand what happened, what sparked this fight, and whether or not this defendant on the right side, whether he was in a position to use self-defense when he pulled out a knife and stabbed 4 people, and Jimmy McGrath was the one who lost his life. Let's go in, picking it up with testimony from Tyler DaSilva, testifying under a non-prosecution agreement, essentially immunity from the state.
Yes, sir! Come on! Let's go again!
Saying that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you state 62. You know who that is in state 62?
I do.
Who is that?
Defendant?
State 63. You know who this individual is on the ground with the shirt pulled up?
I do.
Who is that?
That's me.
Now, do you recall seeing Jimmy McGrath during this part of the fight?
I do not.
State 68. This person that's here with the jeans on with the shirt kind of pulled up going towards, looks like they're going towards the street. Do you know who that is?
I do.
Who is that?
That's me.
And this individual to your left, do you know who that is?
I do.
Who is that?
Defendant?
And lastly, state 69. Do you know who this individual is at the street?
That's me.
You recall seeing Jimmy McGrath at all during this time?
No.
You recall seeing him involved in any of the fights during this time?
I do not.
Now, you indicated that you look to your left and you see the car driving away.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I mean, I'm screaming at these kids, they're screaming at me. Nothing's really occurring, but I don't know what's going to happen next. I turn to my left, and my ride, Jack Schneider, is driving away. I almost went to screaming, stop.
And did you get in the car?
Did.
Where did you get in the car?
The back seat.
The back seat, on the passenger side or the driver's side? And was the defendant in the car?
Was.
Where was he seated?
Seated in the right passenger seat, front.
And when you got in the car, what, if anything, did you say to Jack or the defendant when you got in the car?
I was angry. I just started screaming at them.
What At some point, and now when you're saying this, are you just seated in the car or are you?
I'm like kind of head down, like in distraught. Like my head was booming, the adrenaline was rushing through my body. Like I wasn't.
At some point in time, tell us about where the car goes, if you can recall.
Yeah, so what I recall is, I mean, the car was going fast. We take this left turn, and we're going fast through. And the defendant goes, stop, stop, stop. And like, Jack slams on the brakes where I almost like, because my head was down, I almost smashed into the front seat with my head. And I'm like still screaming. I'm not thinking anything of like, stop, stop, stop. And I'm still screaming. I like look up. I see the defendant entering back into the car.
And did you know why the defendant got out of the car?
I did not.
And when the defendant got back into the car, what if anything, did you hear him say next?
He just said, go, go, go.
And do you recall the path the car took after the defendant said go, go, go?
Yeah, it was almost like we were on like a roundabout. So like it was like a right and a straight, and then another right where we went straight back up.
Do you recall if you went past, did you pass the house again? Do you recall?
Yeah, we did.
So if we can use states one, do you recall the path of travel to the best of your recollection?
My recollection, like I said, when I got in, sharp left, and this is where I believe we stopped. And we came back out and moved back up here.
And when you flew back down the street, where did you go?
When we were going back up the street, right around here, the defendant said, stop, stop, stop again. And he got out the car. He just looked at me and Jack and said, love you guys. I'm going home with Mackenzie. And I got out and got back into the front passenger seat.
And when you got back in the front passenger seat, do you recall where you guys went next?
Me and Jack just drove straight. Let me see, going straight, we drove straight. We drove straight is where we eventually hit another dead end.
Let me show you Defense Exhibit A. This is a very large overhead shot of the entire area. It's Defense A. Are you talking about hitting the dead end all the way to the end of Laurel Glen?
Yes.
Okay. And when you got to the end of Laurel Glen, what did you guys do next?
We kind of like, where are we right now? We had no idea. So I grabbed my phone and I put in my address in Milford. And we let that go. We finally got it up. Once we got it up, we began.
And on the way home, how long was the ride to your house in Milford from Shelton?
20 minutes.
And during that 20-minute ride, did you have a conversation with Jack about what had happened?
I did.
Now, without telling us what Jack said, what kind of things were you saying to him?
I was upset. I kind of was continuing old demeanor of like, why did you off without me? And I felt like an anger towards him. So the adrenaline running through my body, and I was just like mad at him.
And